Picture this. You wake up at 3 a.m. because something is flapping around your bedroom. A bat. You shoo it out the window, check your arms, see nothing, decide a bat is a tomorrow problem, and pass back out. That was your mistake. Here's the thing about a bat. Its teeth are thinner than a hypodermic needle, so when one nips you in your sleep, you don't feel it, and it won't leave a mark you'd ever find. Most people who die of this swear they were never bitten. They aren't lying. They just never felt it. That's the trap. By the time you'd have any reason to worry, the thing is already inside you, riding your own nerves toward your skull, and the only clock that matters started ticking the second that bat brushed your skin. So what is rabies, really? It's not a poison or a bug you can sweat out. It's a bullet-shaped strand of genetic code with exactly one job. Reach your brain before you notice it's there. And it is good at its job. Once clinical symptoms appear, rabies kills roughly 100% of the time. Let that sit for a second. Not 90%. Not usually fatal. It is the deadliest infection we've ever written down. The closest thing biology has to a guaranteed death sentence. Around 59,000 people die of it every single year. Most of them kids in Asia and Africa bitten by stray dogs. And that number is probably low because half these deaths never get reported. This is happening right now, not in some history book. Here's the part that should terrify you. For the next several weeks, you feel completely fine. You go to work, you make plans, you forget the bat ever happened, and the whole time, the virus is crawling toward your brain at about half an inch a day. It does this through something called retrograde axonal transport, which is a fancy way of saying it hijacks the tiny motor proteins inside your own nerve cells and uses them like a ladder, climbing rung by rung toward your spine. It deliberately stays out of your bloodstream, where your immune system is patrolling. It travels the back roads. And distance is everything. A bite to your foot might take over a year to arrive. A bite to your face? You could be dead in a week. And once it reaches your brain, here's the cruel part. Every drug we have, every antibody, every antiviral is suddenly useless. And not because the medicine is weak. Your brain sits behind the blood-brain barrier, basically a vault door that keeps junk in your blood out of your neurons. Rabies doesn't blow the door. It locks it from the inside, and now your antibodies are pounding on a vault they'll never open. This is the point of no return. The exact moment the virus crosses into your brain is the moment the death sentence becomes irreversible, and there's no alarm that tells you it happened. 2 months later, it starts. And it starts as the most boring illness on earth. A low fever, a headache. You feel run down, achy, like you're catching whatever's going around the office. So you do what everyone does. You ignore it. You take some Tylenol. But there's one symptom that isn't the flu, one red flag every doctor is trained to hunt for. A strange tingling, or burning, or itching, right where that long-heeled bat bite used to be. A wound that closed weeks ago suddenly buzzing for no reason. That's the virus announcing it has arrived. And from this moment, you don't have weeks anymore. You have days. Now the lights come on, and they stay on. Most ways to die dull you, fog you, knock you unconscious before the worst of it. Rabies does the opposite. It keeps you fully, horribly awake. This is furious rabies, and it's where the disease earns its reputation. You become hydrophobic, afraid of water, and here's what's so monstrous about it. This isn't fear talking, it's a wiring fault in your brainstem. The virus inflames the nerves that control swallowing, so the instant you try to take a sip, your throat seizes into a violent, tearing spasm that feels like drowning on dry land. First spasm, you reach for water and your throat clamps shut. 10th spasm, you flinch at the sight of the glass. Then the air turns on you too. A breeze across your face, your own breathing, sets off the spasms the same way. And through all of it, you cycle between perfect, screaming lucidity and bursts of animal aggression, fully aware, watching your own body turn against you in real time, unable to do a single thing about it. And here's where it gets genuinely sinister, because none of this is random. Every single symptom rabies gives you is doing a job. Killing you is only half of what it's after. It's using you. Think about it. It floods your saliva with billions of copies of itself. Then it paralyzes your ability to swallow, so all that infected spit pools in your mouth and drools out instead of going down. Then it cranks up your aggression and your urge to bite. Put those three together and you see the design. The drooling, the snarling, the throat that won't work. None of that is a malfunction. The whole package is a delivery system. The virus turns you into a machine, built to sink your teeth into the next warm body and pass itself along before you die. It's smarter than you. It always was. So at this point, you're probably thinking, okay, surely there's a treatment. And here's the twist that'll make you furious. There is. It's about $200 and it works almost every single time. It's called post-exposure prophylaxis. You wash the wound, you get a shot of rabies immune globulin, and you get a series of 4 vaccine doses over 2 weeks. Done correctly, it is damn near 100% effective. It is one of the most lopsided wins in all of medicine, and almost nobody who dies of rabies ever gets it. There's just one catch, and it's the whole catch. It only works before symptoms start, before you feel a thing. So the real villain in this story was never the virus. It was the clock. It was the bat bite you slept through, and the 2 months you spent feeling totally fine. But wait, somebody did survive it. In 2004, a 15-year-old named Jenna Giese got bitten by a bat at her church, ignored the scratch, and walked into a hospital already symptomatic. Already, by every rule in medicine, dead. Her doctors had nothing to lose, so they gambled. They put her into a deep-induced coma, basically shutting her brain off to ride out the storm, dosed her with antivirals, and waited. It became known as the Milwaukee Protocol, and Gina walked out of that hospital alive, the first person ever to survive symptomatic rabies without a vaccine. Miracle, right? Here's the cold part. Doctors have tried the protocol around 35 times since. Almost none of them worked. A review published last year is literally titled Demise of the Milwaukee Protocol, and most experts now believe Jenna wasn't a cure. She was a fluke, a weak strain meeting an unusually strong immune system, lightning that hasn't struck twice. Quick tangent, because once you see this, you can't unsee it. Why do humans all over the world share an ancient myth about a bite that turns you into a snarling, water-fearing creature of the night? A vampire. A werewolf. Look at the symptoms again. Spread by a bite. Foaming at the mouth, terror of water, mindless aggression. Carried by nocturnal animals like bats and wolves. That's a clinical description of rabies, written by people who had no idea what a virus was. By some counts, France alone tallied as many as 30,000 werewolf accusations in a single century. People weren't inventing monsters. They were writing down rabies and calling it a curse. So let's go back to you, the person who shooed a bat out a window 2 months ago. By now the lucid moments are getting shorter. Then they stop coming at all. You slip into a coma, and within 2 to 10 days of that very first headache, your body shuts down for good. Okay, full honesty, 100% fatal has an asterisk. A literal handful of people have survived symptomatic rabies. But it's a handful, out of everyone in human history, and even most of them didn't walk away whole. Surviving rabies and recovering from rabies are not the same thing. Here's the part that matters, the one thing I actually need you to take from this. Rabies is one of the only ways to die where you get to vote on the outcome, but only if you vote early. So here's your one rule. Wash any animal bite with soap and water immediately. See a doctor after any contact with a bat, even if you can't find a single mark on you, because you probably won't. And keep your pets vaccinated. The virus is unbeatable. The clock is not. And those few $100s you spend today is the entire difference between a routine afternoon at the doctor and the worst death biology has ever engineered.